This is the second video of lecture 10. I will discuss IT standardization and taking the right enforcement approach to it. Let me give you a short summary of the case so that you understand the context of this lecture's topic. The IT department is concerned about the high IT complexity. The same function or service is supported by a variety of software applications and hardware components in different versions and brands. Business units literally buy any technology they deem necessary using their own budget and expect the IT department to support them. The two camps inside the IT department that support Windows-based and Linux-based solutions have added insult to injury. The high IT complexity has made maintaining and changing IT systems difficult. Consequently, it has increased IT costs and the risks of IT unavailability, security incidents, and inaccuracy. The high IT complexity has also made integrating systems to support real-time responsive operations next to impossible. To reduce complexity, the IT department has to simplify the IT architecture via standardization that reduces the variety of technologies that provide the same functionality. The question is, which of the three alternative enforcement approaches can be taken, should be taken? The first approach is voluntary compliance, but the IT staff predicts no business unit would comply. The second approach is strict enforcement, where the IT department vetoes buying or using a non-standard technology and requires immediate investment in removing non-compliant technologies. That would be impractical as it involves IT people deriving the business people who know how to create value. The third enforcement approach, gradual migration, is in between the two previous extremes. Standardization would be exerted on emerging technologies so that we have a lower IT complexity in the future. The issue is that this approach takes years to reduce IT costs and risks. Before answering which enforcement approach to be used for what condition, let me define what IT standardization is and provide two examples for that. IT standardization is the activity of establishing and recording a limited set of IT solutions to actual or potential matching problems. Therefore, standardization limits the choices for IT resources such as software application, data, hardware, network, security, and platforms. When agreed on a technology or general decision, the IT department creates documents to share the standards. IT principle is a high-level document that includes the general decisions that limits the technology choices, while technology reference model is a low-level document that concretely specifies the technologies. For example, the IT principle document can include a sentence such as, "We prefer top used software solutions in the world." to limit choices for software applications. On the other hand, a technology reference model suggests that all business units, all schools, in the case of the university, should only use a specific application from a specific software producer, such as Canvas, created by the company instructor. Regarding data, the IT principle document can say all main operations must be logged and all data must be backed up daily, which hints that you need to have a kind of powerful database behind the scene. The technology reference model can specifies the database management system that should be used by the organization, which is in this case, for example, the DBMS created by Oracle. With regard to hardware, the IT principle document can say all computer servers must use scalable storage. Desktops must include 3-year warranties. And the technology reference model can say that we only buy laptops and desktops and computer servers sold by Dell. Regarding network, the IT principle can say we use network components with the highest reliability rate suggested by the tech reviewers. And the technology reference model says that as for routers, we only go to Cisco systems to buy them. With regard to security, the IT principle says we use the best security applications suggested by security reviewers in the global market. And the technology reference model says that as for antivirus, we go for Kaspersky, as for VPN, we go for global network, and as for intrusion detection system, we use SolarWinds. Regarding platform, the IT principle says we use the most common platforms used in the market. And the technology reference model can say as for operating systems, we only use Windows. As for the cloud platform, we only use Microsoft Azure. Note that it is very difficult to create or use one software application to support the business when each business unit has different steps for the same business process. You need to first create a standard process for all business units. Then you can create one solution for all of them. An example is the ordering process at Domino Pizza. All stores follow the same sequence of steps to get orders. Therefore, Domino can have one software application, one website that supports all those business units. Therefore, the enforcement of IT standardization becomes a success if the organization can have a high business process standardization, which is defined as the extent to which business units will perform the same processes the same way. An example of a highly standardized business process is the preparation of a Big Mac hamburger at McDonald's. A Big Mac is prepared almost in the same way all over the world. The taste is almost the same wherever you go. The inputs, steps of preparation, and outputs are the same, demonstrating a high standardization. Business process standardization has several advantages for McDonald's. Firstly, it increases efficiencies. If a process for preparing a hamburger is found to be fast and error free, it can be used all over the world. Consequently, the number of overcooked or undercooked hamburger is low, increasing the profitability of the business units. Moreover, business process standardization increases predictability. You can predict how long it takes to prepare a Big Mac, and you almost get the same burger as you fry it in the same oil, in the same pan, for the same amount of minutes. You can predict how many workers are required to prepare 100 hamburgers. Therefore, you're not going to be understaffed or overstaffed. Also, having a standard set of products allow McDonald's to measure how many hamburgers and sandwiches are sold in a store, how much ingredients are used in a store, then compare different stores and improve their processes if needed. On the other hand, if a local McDonald's store gets feedback from its local customers, local Dutch customers, for example, that adding peanut butter would make the Big Mac hamburgers tastier, the local store cannot customize the Big Mac and try to sell it. Therefore, standardization kills local innovation, and sometimes it also kills a perfectly good local process. To have a better understanding of process standardization, watch the movie The Founder. Some students confuse business process integration with business standardization. Business process integration is the extent to which business units share data. Therefore, two business processes can be different, but they can share data as they are somehow related. For example, a hotel chain's branches all over the world can have different processes. One is, for example, in Aruba in the Caribbean Sea, while the other one is in New York. Customers want different things in these two places. In Aruba, you want to relax, therefore, an ocean view, massage rooms, and so forth are important to you. In New York, you are there to do business, and meetings and meeting rooms are important. Therefore, requirements and processes can be different. Nevertheless, the hotels share client data. The hotel chain can have a loyalty program to give a discount to clients who are loyal to the brand. They may also share her preferences, such as having a rose bouquet next to the bed. Sharing data also allows having end-to-end processes. For example, instead of manufacturing cars and pushing them to the market, you can integrate car ordering process and the car manufacturing process so that a customer can order a customized car with, for example, the favorite cover seats, and the car manufacturer delivers that customized car. Also, with a high business process integration, the requirement for a customer or employee to enter the same data several times is diminished. One of the signs of a low integration is entering repetitive data into the processes of an organization. One of the perks of sharing data across business units is having a one-stop view where customers or employees can have all the required information from different business units and are not required to collect data from different applications. A loan officer, for example, can review a customer's checking, saving, and brokerage accounts with the bank in one view to make a decision about the risk of lending money to that customer. The same bank customer can have all information related to different accounts in one view, while the sources of information are completely different. For example, your ING bank application shows the information of your checking account with ING along with your credit card information that comes from Visa or MasterCards. The marketing officer of the same bank can have a comprehensive understanding of a client's status in one view to provide a customized solution to that client to gain more profit from that client. However, note that business integration is quite costly as it requires all business units to agree on a common definition and format of data. The exchange data must be standardized to allow data exchange between business units. For example, when is a sale considered a sale? When the contract is signed, or when the company receives the payment, or when the product is delivered. Next, what attributes of a sale must be stored or exchanged? Sale data, customer name, delivery date. What else? An agreement on that is required. Also, a sales information must be exchanged in an XML format, or a comma separated format, or a tab separated format. Which format is consistent with the existing applications and costs us less? Moreover, in what order those attributes of a sale must be exchanged? Developing a consensus on all these aspects for thousands of data types that business units deal with is expensive and time consuming. Ross and colleagues suggest that before making any IT decisions, such as the IT architecture or the level of IT standardization, an organization has to choose the necessary level of business process standardization and integration. They call this decision choosing the operating model of an organization and believe the decision the decision is not IT departments to make. The top management team should choose the operating model. They give a name to the four possible operating models. The operating model is called diversification when the top executives opt for low integration and low standardization as the business units follow different markets with different products and services. The top managers believe uh, that the business units can develop the highest revenue or profit if they are left to be autonomous, to be creative locally, or be creative in their unique industry. An example is Johnson and Johnson that have different lines of businesses and business units active in different industries such as pharmaceutical industry, medical devices, and consumer healthcare. The unification operating models, on the other hand, entails high integration and standardization. The top managers believe the business units can develop the highest revenue or profit if they share data and follow the same processes to have reliable, predictable, and low cost processes with a single face to customers and suppliers. Most well known airlines follow this operating model. The coordination operating model focuses on integration. It focuses on data sharing. The top managers believe business units must have their own processes tuned for the local environment or industry. But these business units need to share data and try to have a single face to clients or perhaps suppliers. For example, a financial institution such as ING Group has the same client dealing with its consumer bank, investment bank, and insurance divisions in one country. These different divisions have different processes, but they share data about that client. For example, once the saving account in the consumer bank reaches the threshold of 50,000 euros, the consumer bank shares that information with the investment bank so that the investment bank can approach the customer for investment opportunities. The operating model is called replication when the focus is only on high standardization of processes. Operating units perform tasks in the same way using the same software applications to achieve global efficiency and recognition. However, the operating units rarely interact to share data on a client or supplier. Costco, a wholesale retailer, replicates the processes and systems in its independently managed stores in different countries. But these stores in different countries do not have access to one another's client data. So a company choose low business process integration if there are few shared clients or suppliers, and most of the transactions that occur by business units are independent. And the company would go for a high business process integration if there are many shared customers and or perhaps many suppliers, and the transaction in one business unit have impacts on other business units. A company would go for low business process standardization if these business units are operationally unique and they require autonomous business management. So they they go for a low business process standardization if the top managers believe that the process design must be controlled by those business units. On the other hand, a company would go for a high business process standardization if those business units have similar similar overlapping operations. So they create a centralized management unit to design the same process for all of these business units. So here is my recommendation to Jim Barton, the CIO of IVK. IT standardization depends on the operating model. The IT department cannot make a decision about the operating model itself. Carl Williams, the CEO, together with other top managers, have to figure out IVK's operating model first. Do the business units share customers? Does uh, do the transactions in one business units impact other business units? If yes, high integration is needed. Are business units operationally unique and independent? Is a business unit's creativity more important than having a standardized business processes? If yes, low standardization is required. Knowing the operating model, you can choose the right enforcement approach. The IT department can choose the right enforcement approach. First, diversification means the business units must be autonomous to be creative. A voluntary compliance would work better for the diversification operating model since standardization does not influence the creativity of the business units negatively. Second, unification requires high data and process standardization. So if the top executives go for unification, we require a strict enforcement since achieving this level of diversification, this level of standardization requires a high standardization of data and processes. With coordination and replication operating model, the pace of achieving uh, the operating model is is important here. It is important that the top executives clear to us how urgent it is to implement the operating model uh, because they know the business environment and what can make us successful in the market. If it is urgent, we need to be strict. Otherwise, a gradual approach would work better. The important thing here is that we involve the top managers through in this decision about standardization through choosing the operating model so that they support the resultant IT decision about the enforcement approach. Pause here for a minute and answer this question, and this question, this question, this question, and finally this question. In the next video, I will discuss how IT helps with innovation in a company.